Peace of mind. 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MetLetNissan.com. On approved credit. Negative equity will be refinanced with a new vehicle. Plus tax tag and $479 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. 0.9 for 36 months selling price. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MetLetNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 5/6/2022. It's on at Met Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township. When you hear this.
They've got him again.
And this.
He scored!
And this.
Oh, boy, what a move by Embiid.
You think of us. We are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Hump Day Wednesday edition of Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN. Man, it's going to be an interesting next couple days in the sports world. Sixers back in action tomorrow night. Game 6, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. So for those of you who are trying to keep track of, we've had a 7 to 7:30 and an 8 at 2 p.m. so far in this series. What was it? Game 1, 6 p.m. So I think we have every time slot covered so far in this Sixers series. By the way, for those who will be looking for it, save Rock 104.1 FM on your dial for the Sixers game tomorrow night. We will have coverage of the NFL draft courtesy ESPN Radio tomorrow night here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Weinberg Wednesday, Dave Weinberg will join me to talk about the Eagles, the NFL, and I want to get his thoughts on boxing because in the aftermath of the Tyson Fury fight on Saturday afternoon has raised a lot of questions and a lot of speculation and a lot of murmuring from certain people. So I want to get Dave's perspective on it because him and I touched on it a little bit this past Wednesday. I didn't think it was actually going to come to fruition the way we talked about, but we'll get into that with Dave coming up in about less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 on the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. You know, we've had a lot of conversations in both directions about Doc Rivers over the years. Well, Doc decided enough was enough. If you didn't hear the audio, I want to play it for you now because I don't think anybody thought, 26, 28 hours from one of the most important games, if not the most important game of the 76ers season, that Doc Rivers would take any time to address any rumors or speculation. Doc Rivers, at his press conference about 6 hours ago, said this to the media when he was asked about public perception about, all the times he's been up 3-1, 3-2 and lost the lead. This is what Doc Rivers said when the media asked him about that today.
Well, it's easy to use me as an example, but I wish y'all would tell the whole story with me, all right? My Orlando team is the HC. No one gives me credit for getting up against the Pistons who won the title. That was an HC. Go look at that. I want you to go back and look at that roster. I dare you to go back and look at that roster, and you would say, what a hell of a coaching job. Really. I mean, the Clipper team that we lost 3-1. Chris Paul didn't play in the first 2 games and was playing on one leg. And we didn't have home court. And then the last one, to me, is the one we blew. That's the one I said, we blew that. And that was in the bubble. And anything can happen in the bubble. There's no home court. Game 7 would have been in L.A., But it just happened. So I would say with me, some of them is I got to do better always. I always take my own responsibility. And then some of it is circumstances happen. This one, let's win it, and we don't have to talk about it.
So I want to give you the full scope of what Doc said, because I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about a lot of people and a lot of scenarios, but we gotta judge Doc on 2 fronts here. number one, I give him credit for taking responsibility. He took responsibility for the collapse of the bubble, which Paul George even said he was just happy to get out of there a couple of years ago, because there were a lot of players who were, to put it nicely, very unhappy about going into the bubble. So, and a couple of them were on Doc's own Clipper team. Doc also went on to say at the end, you heard, listen, these things are my fault. There are situations that are my fault as a coach. But he also went on the circumstances and things happen. And my issue isn't with anything specifically what Doc said. It's the fact that he felt he's now had to multiple times go out of his way to defend himself with this media corps. Sixers beat writers do have a history of asking tough questions. They have a history of, for lack of a better term, not being shy about asking the important question, because the fans want to hear answers to these questions. But I got to tell you, for as much as I personally have also made the same points that Doc did, as much as I respect Doc for taking responsibility in this circumstance, I have to criticize him for the fact of it's a bad look when you constantly have this neediness to go out of your way and clear the air to defend yourself. At some point, I don't know if Doc Rivers understands this. Maybe he's too much in the thick of it to understand it, but there will come a day when he is no longer the Sixers head coach. And as a grown man, he will realize how ridiculous he sounded for the last several months here in Philadelphia. The outburst that he had about Paul Reed and playing him, to, comments about people questioning him as a coach and saying, would you ever ask that question to Greg Popovich? And to this point. And there are other examples as well, but I don't want to waste all my time here talking about Doc Rivers, but it has to be addressed. This organization as a whole, from Daryl Morey to Elton Brand, the Doc Rivers, the Joel Embiid, the James Harden, to the coaching staff next to Doc Rivers on the bench, from Cassell, the Jaeger, to Burke, every man to a person has to win Game 6 and get out of this first round. I don't care how busted up Joel Embiid's hand is. I don't care about Doc Rivers' background as a head coach. I don't care about them not having Matisse Thybulle in Toronto. I don't care about how many athletes Toronto has on their roster. You got to win this game. Game 6 is your Game 7. Because if you lose in the first round for any reason whatsoever, this city will not forgive you. And they will treat you with the level of indifference that plagued this organization for the last couple of years in the regular season with Ben Simmons. This city has been dying for an organization to show them that they can step up to the plate like the Eagles did in 2017. The Flyers have embarrassed themselves left and right in the aftermath of Ed Snyder's passing and the handing over the organization, the Comcast Spectacor, or whatever they call themselves now. The Phillies are attempting to try to pull themselves out of purgatory this season. And so far, it's been mixed results, but it's only April. It's early in the year. The Eagles, yes, they've made the playoffs in 2018, 2019, and this past year, but they haven't gotten to the conference championship game. And in the one game, they couldn't score almost any points at all after Carson Wentz got knocked out and Josh McCown's playing on one leg. Philadelphia is looking to the Sixers right now. Every single fan, all the Philadelphia 4 fans, all you fans who live and die with each of these 4 teams, you're looking to the Sixers to separate themselves from the other 3 teams right now. And if they don't, this is not going to be just disappointment. This is going to be people throwing their hands in the air like the meme of the guy with the papers in his hand who says, I'm done. That's what's going to happen. And I don't think Doc and the rest of the team's mindset is in the right place. They got to get their head out of the sand and just go play this basketball game and win it. Look, the media is going to ask the questions it has to ask. It doesn't mean you got to be so hypersensitive and defend yourself every single time. Everyone to a man of the players admitted after the game that they lost Monday night. We played bad. We got to be better. Great. Now do better. If the Sixers would have lost a close game, that they were in it to the very last second on Monday night, it would have been a little easier to digest. But because they didn't, every single fan in this city is losing their minds, and they're all on the edge. They're on the edge of a bridge mentally, ready to jump off the Sixers bandwagon and go swim in the river or the bay or the ocean. Text board is open, 609-403-0973 is text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We'll talk Eagles and NFL draft coming up in about 8 minutes with Dave Weinberg for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Over on the text board, texter says, Josh, it seems like Harden's greatness has diminished. He's going to want max money. What should the Sixers do? Well, it's not that Harden's greatness has diminished. It's that Harden is an aging player who, if you expected him to be 2018 Harden, you haven't watched in the last couple of years. He is now a guy entering the middle of his 30s who has not done a high-level job at taking care of his physique and his body to play at a high level in the NBA. So with that understanding, and understanding who Harden is, not what people may want him to be, is he going to want max money? Yes. Should the Sixers give it to him? No. I think Mike Gill said this previously. I think that the Sixers and Daryl Morey got to sit down with Harden and say, do you really think you're worth this money? If Harden really thinks that he is worth $250 million, he is a psycho. I think that the problem is that if they can't get past this round, the Harden situation is going to be an absolute albatross all offseason. I think the best case scenario for Philadelphia and for Harden is if Harden just picks up his option for next year, play on that contract, and let a full year play out, and then we'll make a decision. I think that'd be the best scenario for everyone involved. That's just my opinion. I think that the Harden situation, you brought him in here for a reason. He wants to be here. His teammates like him. There's a lot of positives there. But you can't give him max $250 million. That's just craziness. Dan EHC says, if Sixers lose, will they blow it up, Josh? They can't blow it up. Listen, Tyrese Maxey is one of the 20 best young players in this league. James Harden, if he plays like less of a street ball or in more like an NBA player, you could have maybe won one of these past 2 games. When your 2 best players combine for 9 turnovers in each game, you have no chance of winning anyway. Blowing it up is not the answer. The answer is retooling the roster. The roster is very thin, and trading Seth Curry and Drummond exasperated the problem. Jimmy chimes in and says, why the heck would Doc Rivers play Paul Millsap and DeAndre Jordan every game since the Drummond trade, then put Paul Reed as soon as the playoffs start? Because I think Doc Rivers is getting bad advice. My only explanation is you got a bench with some of the best assistant coaches in the NBA, from Dan Burke to Dave Yeager to Sam Cassell. The only explanation for why Doc kept trotting out the old guys was because either he doesn't listen to any people's advice or nobody was giving him good advice. That's the only explanation I can rationalize in my mind. Because rational people were all saying this was a bad idea. And this is now multiple times that the media has suggested something to Doc, and he ends up doing it a few days later. And when he's asked about it, he criticizes the media for pointing it out. It's a strange situation with the Sixers. The Sixers have to be one of the strangest things I've ever seen. And Game 6 is tomorrow night, and it's either going to be the relief or it's going to be hell to pay. And I wish I had the specific answer for you. What I do have an answer about is who the Eagles should draft tomorrow night in the first round of the NFL draft. I'll discuss it with Dave Weinberg for this week's edition of Weinberg Wednesday, coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
With the 15th pick in the NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select.
The NFL Draft is coming to 97.3 ESPN tomorrow. The Eagles own 2 picks in the first round. Keep it locked to the Sports Bash for expert opinions and analysis to find out how it all unfolds. The 2022 NFL Draft, exclusively on your play-by-play home for Philadelphia Eagles football. 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m.
With GMF financing, approved credit excludes Corvette.
This just in. Right now, Bennett Chevrolet is paying a minimum $8,000 for any trade. That's at least $8,000 for any trade, running or not. Bennett is doing it again. Want $8,000 for that old rotted out rat trap? Just drive it, push it, tow it to Bennett Chevrolet for a minimum $8,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. Got a good trade? Well, if we're paying a minimum $8,000 for total junk, imagine how much more you'll get for a good quality trade. Looking for new? There's no beating Bennett, because unlike other dealers, we're not selling over factory sticker. And there's 0% available financing. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, bring it to Bennett. We can get you out early. Any make, any model. And remember, Bennett will buy yours even if you don't buy ours. Stop in for a quick quote. No pressure or obligation, because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid based on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Straight Talk Wireless now has the new iPhone 13 with cinematic mode, which lets you focus on what matters. And with Straight Talk, you can focus on getting the best deal. Our Silver Unlimited plan is just $45 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. And it runs on the largest, most dependable networks, now with nationwide 5G. With the iPhone 13 on Straight Talk, you can share whatever you want, wherever you want. Straight Talk Wireless. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge.
But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99.
You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
How do you make the most of your land? Everyone has their way. The Nelsons depend on their John Deere Gator XUV 835R to get
from point A to point B with decoys and the dogs.
As much as we've got going on, it's all about efficiency.
And if you ask the Mosers what they use their Gator XUV 590M for, they tell you.
The most fun we have on the Gator is just repping around the property.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Sire?
Mm-hmm.
I just graduated first in my class at stonemasonry school.
I know. That's why we hired you.
Yeah, cool. But I was wondering why all I've been doing is sweeping the floors and providing slop for the hogs.
Well, how else do you think you learned to stonemason?
By stonemasoning, maybe?
How does that make any sense?
Throughout history, people have always been undervalued at work. That's why Monster lets you search salary by major. Find your job at monster.com or download the app.
Spring into savings all month and spring out of that car you hate at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. We'll take any trade, any make, any condition, even if you're stuck in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. Do you have a job? Do you clear $350 per week? You could be approved with 0 down and low interest rate financing on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. And remember, we have new Kias arriving daily. Just because you don't see it on the lot doesn't mean you can't be driving your new Kia home tomorrow. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 5/8/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your next vacation now and create memories to last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Boston, Atlanta, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight today at Spirit.com. Well, I'm Josh Hennig, and I'm live in the Matt Blatt Kia studios, but somebody who is living their best life, and I basically have to live vicariously through him, is my next guest. Dave Weinberg joins me from a very, very nice, sunny, looks like beautiful location with a palm tree behind him. Dave, how you doing today? Dave, your mic is on mute, so you got to hit that little button there so we get you back on there. I can't control that from my.
There we go. Okay, got it. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, you are living your best life. I think it's fair to say that, right, Dave?
I'm trying my best, Josh.
Well, Dave, let me ask you a couple of questions. I don't want to keep you too long, but with the Eagles drafting tomorrow night, there's a lot of speculation right now that one of the guys that they want is Jamison Williams, the wide receiver from Alabama. Now, he didn't play with Devonta Smith, who originally at Ohio State, but I want to ask you, a guy coming off an injury. Howie Roseman previously said that they were trying to stay away from those kind of guys. Would you be okay with them going and getting a guy like that?
Honestly, no. I just think they've been burned too often with guys like that. Sidney Jones in particular. I just think they'd be better off this. It seems like it's a pretty deep wide receiver class. And I think maybe Chris Olaf from Ohio State or Traylon Burks or somebody like that, I think would be somebody who's actually healthy. I think might be a better fit. But, I mean, I guess the guy obviously has talent. And from what everybody's thinking, he's going to be fully recovered from that torn ACL. But when you're talking about a wide receiver and a torn ACL, that would give me pause for sure.
And by the way, he's one of 3 wide receivers in this draft class who all have torn wide receivers. It's Jamison Williams, it's John Mechie, and it's George Pickens. Now, we already saw Pickens return from his injury, but the other 2, we haven't seen them return yet. So right. I'm sure that the Eagles can't be the only team that maybe is a little wary about these guys.
Yeah, I would think so, but I guess they've done their homework or their due diligence, and I guess they're convinced that these guys are going to make a full recovery if they haven't already. I don't think they have yet, but yeah, I mean, I when you have a first-round pick, I don't know why you would take that kind of gamble. Maybe it was like a franchise quarterback that maybe had like a shoulder injury or something, then maybe, but there's enough wide receivers out there that I don't think you have to make this kind of risk, take this kind of risk.
Which leads me to my other thing. Should the Eagles even draft a wide receiver? There are some people, Dave, who are saying, just don't draft a wide receiver at all. You got one right. Just go get something else in the first round.
I probably would take one, only because I think they need somebody with Devonta Smith. Like we've often talked about, you and I, Chris Watkins is not a number 2, and Jalen Reagor is not a slot guy. I mean, I don't know what he is, honestly. But so I think they do need one. Maybe, I've heard a lot of talk about Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle, maybe going corner with the second first-round pick. I would think I'd be okay with a corner or a wide receiver or even a defensive lineman. I think with those two first-round picks.
Now, Dave, you know how Eagle fans are. Anytime anybody's available, every Eagle fan wants them, right?
Sure.
Deebo Samuel, the reports are the 49ers would give him up for 2 first-round picks. I said I would not trade 2 first-round picks for Deebo. Would you?
No. No. Those are too valuable. And I would not do that. I mean, he's a talent, but he also has some injury issues and inconsistency. He's definitely not worth that, I don't think. I wouldn't do it. Maybe if I was like a Super Bowl contender, like if I thought it was like one player away and he was the player, then maybe I consider it. But if I'm the Eagles, definitely not.
Dave, if Howie Roseman called you on draft night and asked you what to do, what would you advise him to do?
I'm expecting him to call me. I think I make a call to Doug Peterson, and I'm going to say, you know what? You drafted Andre Dillard. How would you like Andre Dillard in our 2 first-round picks and give me the number 1 overall pick? I'm sure that won't happen, but failing that, I think I stay with what I'm doing, and I make those 2 picks at 15 and 18.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Doug, 'cause I was going to ask you about Doug. He goes from the Eagles, where they have an interesting front office dynamic, we'll call it. And now there's reports that the GM of the Jags, Trent Baalke, he wants Walker from Georgia, but the owner, Khan, he wants Hutchinson from Michigan. Doug probably feels right at home, right?
Yeah, it's always there's always a controversy there. Yep, that's true. And Doug probably wants one of those offensive tackles, So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic with Jacksonville. I mean, I've been following it a little bit because one of my brothers, who actually I play golf with today, down here in Florida, he's a season ticket holder from the Jaguars from their inception. So he follows it quite closely. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, you assumed all along that Hutchinson was going to be the guy, but now all of a sudden the 2 other guys or 2 or 3 other guys are starting to get into the conversation. And they could always trade down, I guess. I don't think they will, but they could.
I just think it's interesting that, we're what, 24 hours away from Goodell walking on the stage, and we still have no idea what the top 5 is going to look like. I'm completely fascinated by tomorrow night.
Yeah, I am too. This is one of those few years where it's so up in the air. There's probably 10 guys that could go in the top 5, and you really don't know what teams are thinking, whether they're willing to listen to offers. I mean, you got to think Sauce Gardner is going to be in the top 5. Hutchinson, Trim, the other defensive tackle, I can't remember his name, but I just don't flew out of my head. But there's like 10 guys almost that could go in that top 5 depending on what they want and what they need.
Yeah, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Davis from Georgia. I mean, this is a very deep class, and I still believe, Dave, no matter what anyone tells me, these mock guys can mock whatever they want.
Yes.
Every year, some dude's getting overdrafted. Pickett or one of these quarterbacks, he's going to be this year's E.J. Manuel or whatever guy you want to use as an example, where someone is going to get picked and it's going to benefit some other team.
Oh, yeah, it always happens. Somebody reaches or somebody thinks they know more than everybody else, and they make that gamble that you never saw coming, and that kind of like throws the entire first round up in the air because it's a domino effect after that. People don't think their guy's going to be there, so they might want to move up. People might want to move down. That's what makes it so interesting, though. I mean, nobody cared about the draft like 20 years ago, but now all of a sudden it's primetime TV,
Dave Weinberg joining us for an edition of Weinberg Wednesday, live from Florida here on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at Dave Weinberg19. Before I let you go, Dave, I got to ask you some boxing.
Oh, sure.
Because, Fury, as we expected, got the win.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't help but not think of you, because when I saw them bringing Ngannou into the ring and do that whole charade, all I could think of was our conversation about McGregor and Mayweather.
Yeah, it's Tyson's an entertaining guy, and he's been talking about hanging it up now after this and going into the UFC or WWE or some sort of carnival type atmosphere. I mean, I would love to see him defend against Usyk for the unification fight, but that's the fight I really want to see because the one that the other day, Dillian White, that really wasn't much of a challenge for him. I want to see him really test it and see what happens, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Looks like he's going to walk away. But if the money's right, I'm sure he'll come back. That's what everybody does.
Yeah, and my thing is, David, I said this on Twitter on Saturday. To me, look, if a guy's going to make a chance to make life-changing money, let him. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not going to sit here. I don't think Ngannou has a chance to beat Fury. I think that's silly. But, listen, if he can go make the money, let him. Why is everybody trying to rain on his parade? You know what? If Fury wants to do it and Ngannou wants to do it, rip up the contracts and just let them do it and let people make their money.
Sure. I mean, why not? I mean, I won't begrudge them that. If they, I probably wouldn't watch it, but I mean, I might be tempted if the price is right, if it's not too expensive. But yeah, there's plenty of people out there that would shell out big bucks to watch that, and that's the way it always is. I mean, entertainment sells, and if they want to do that, then God bless them. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm more likely to watch Fury and Ngannou than I am any Jake Paul fight, but that's just me.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't pay 2 cents to see that crap.
Listen, there's only one person on planet Earth I want to see the Paul brothers fight, and that's only. No, but that's a I didn't think of that. That's a good one. That's a good one. No, I want to see one of them fight someone who actually can fight back.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be like an elite boxer, but like for example, they keep calling out all these MMA guys, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, Anderson Silva's out there doing the boxing circuit now.
Right.
Go fight him. He's long. He's big. He's dangerous. Give me at least somebody dangerous.
Right, somebody that'll actually prove whether they're really for real or just making a buck and beating up on these so-called actors and singers and rappers and what have you, and bottom of the rung fighters. I want to see them actually step up and fight somebody, like you said, somebody that's going to punch them back in the mouth and see what happens then.
And that's really the shame of this whole thing. Dave, you mentioned that you want to see Fury fight somebody else. To get a unification fight, the best of the best fight. That's what it's supposed to be about. But the state of boxing now is so disjointed that it's just like you kind of shrug your shoulders and hope for the best.
Yeah, there's so much involvement just to get the two guys in the ring. You got to have the right net. You have competing networks. You have competing promoters. You have competing trainers, and I mean it's a big circus, and it's almost impossible to get the two best of the best to fight in the same weight class. I'd love to see it, but I'm not holding my breath, unfortunately.
Well, listen, you're in too nice of a place to hold your breath. I want you to breathe all of that Florida air in. I want you to enjoy yourself. So when you come back to Jersey, you can bring that warm weather with you, okay?
I'm going to do my best, Josh.
At Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter, Extra Point Columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Dave, I appreciate you finding some time out of your day. Enjoy yourself, my friend.
Thanks very much, Josh. I appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Josh Hennig back here in New Jersey, where it's not as nice as Florida, here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And, it's like I was saying to Dave, it's just one of those things where, I understand that these people have contracts, and I understand these people, they have agreements and all that stuff. There's a reason for all these things. But for me, as someone who is a sports fan, okay, I don't care about the minutia, because at the end of the day, everyone can make money off of these things. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So I really don't care about your contracts and all this other stuff. If you have an opportunity to give me something entertaining, something interesting, something that will churn my interest, get my juices flowing, that's what I want. I don't care about Ngannou's contract with the UFC and Fury's boxing deal with, whoever. At some point, you got to give the people what they want. The people are going to pay money for this. We already saw it with McGregor and Mayweather. All right. And that was even something I think that McGregor probably did a little better than the average boxing fan thought. I remember, listening to all the analysts and the experts, and a lot of people didn't give McGregor a chance to get out of the first couple rounds. And not that he was great, but I think that Mayweather was not going to put in a situation in a big money fight, in a fight that was going against his actual record. Remember, that fight is on his boxing record. Mayweather wanted that 0 next to his record, that undefeated record. He was not going to let McGregor put him in a situation to get hurt. And I think he said, look, I'm going to let this guy burn himself out, and then I'm going to pick him apart and finish the fight. And he did exactly what he wanted to do. But we let it happen. Let Ngannou fight Tyson Fury. And I don't care that it's, UFC gloves, which are smaller than boxing gloves. It doesn't matter to me. Let the guys do it. If they want to go out there and do it and make money, why not? It doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother you, and it shouldn't bother the UFC, and it shouldn't bother anyone else. The world is full of shenanigans and charades all the time. The world is full of people getting jobs because of nepotism and doing whatever they want because people let them do it. I don't care. It's not my job to be the morality police. Okay? No one's getting hurt. No one is breaking any crimes. No one's doing any ill will to anyone. Let them fight. Let's have this spectacle. Let's have the circus. And you know what? Dave mentioned it before. Fury wants to leave and go to, professional wrestling like WWE. Let him. Who cares? I think at some point we got to stop putting our personal expectations on people to be what we want to fit them in a box to be. You either like them or you don't. You either behind them or you're not. The guys want to fight, let them fight. I'm not going to sit here and, demean them and demoralize them over it. Look at what's going on right now in MMA, right? In the UFC, the former champ, Henry Cejudo, he keeps threatening to come out of retirement. And the UFC is like, look, you want to come out of retirement, just do it. Stop talking already. These guys, George St. Pierre threatened for years to come out of retirement, comes out of retirement for one fight, fights Michael Bisping and leaves, and everybody gets on him. Who cares? Let history reflect who these guys are. Don't criticize them for even attempting to do it. I'm a big believer in letting history dictate what happens to these athletes. If Tyson Fury would have done this, well, he didn't do it. Well, if Anderson Silva would have done this, well, he didn't do it. Well, if Roy Jones Jr. would have done this, well, he didn't do it. Let history tell the story. Stop trying to change the narrative in the middle of the story being written. Let the book get written. Then we can judge the whole package as is. Listen, it might be the best thing that could happen to Francis Ngannou. Listen, let him go get into boxing. Let him get, blasted by Tyson Fury so that he can come back maybe more motivated and humbled to the UFC, because the only thing that's really going to keep Ngannou from signing his UFC contract is this fight. And for Fury, if he wants to go out and have this, exhibition fight, you call it, and then go out and be, a sports entertainer the rest of his, athletic days, let him. Who cares? Ric Flair's 70 years old, still doing appearances and stuff. You let these guys do what they want, because you know what? People want to see it. Let history judge them. Stop judging them in the middle of it. Someone's an opportunity to make money. I say let them. I will never begrudge anyone an opportunity to make money. You are worth what someone is willing to pay you. Not a penny more, not a penny less. If someone's willing to give you $100 million or $10 million or $100, it is what it is. You can find a better offer, go find a better offer. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox now. We'll get back to the other stuff. Sixers, NFL Draft, Eagles, 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio.
Here comes showtime. Antetokounmpo rocks the rim.
Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks up 3-1. Look to finish off the Bulls. Can they survive a must-win and force a Game 6 in Chicago?
DeRozan sees an opening, drives it, throws it down.
Game 5 of the Bucks and Bulls. Coverage begins tonight at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Listen to the NBA playoffs exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Spring into savings all month and spring out of that car you hate at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Bring any trade, any make, any condition. Even if you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released so you can drive home in your new Nissan today. Just because you don't see it on the lot doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With 0 down and 0.9% financing on every new Nissan. New 2022 Titan trucks. $5,000 off. Plus, AJ the Trade Man will get you more for your trade so you can drive a brand new Nissan. And of course, the Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind. 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved credit, negative equity will be refinanced with a new vehicle plus tax tag and $479 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. 0.9 for 36 months selling price. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 5/6/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's. Today's topic, friends and family savings. Just in time for Mother's Day. Speaking of, I got my mom the cutest pajamas for just $27.99. A trendy spring dress for under $25 and 65% off fine jewelry. Ooh, she's one lucky lady. So am I. Did I mention I got an extra 25% off? And because I'm a Kohl's Rewards member, an extra $20 off? Count on Kohl's for more style and more savings. Select styles, 20 off 100 valid in-store only. 25% off ends May 1st. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
When it comes to our customers, convenience matters. That's why we offer top-rated digital banking services with just that in mind. From online account opening to contactless payment options to mobile check deposit, right from your phone.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
What makes mulch so lovable? The texture? The smell? Well, it's not just people that love mulch. Your plants do too. Retaining moisture and regulating soil temps. It's the whole package. Guess the real question is, what's not to love? Stop in today for a special buy of Scott's Earth Grow and exclusive Vigoro wood mulches, 5 for $10. It feels like spring savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
When you support your local small businesses, it helps keep your neighbors employed, helps kids save for college, and strengthens your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts local businesses in the spotlight. Made a New Home Remodeling. Make your dreams a reality. MadeANewHomeRemodeling.com. Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ILoveLyleBack.com. Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts, rebates, and incentives. Online at IWantComfortNow.com. Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com. Maurice Piers. For tickets and passes, visit MauricePiers.com. East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows serves all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com. Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Yes, the NFL draft is tomorrow night. You hear right here. Coverage of rounds 1 tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Coverage of round 2 and 3 starting at 6 p.m. on Friday night. And then 12 p.m. on Saturday here in your home for Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, the NFL draft, the NCAA tournament, the NBA playoffs, and more. 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget, the Sports Bash with Mike Gill is broadcasting live for the Eagles draft party at Slack Tide Brewing Company starting at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Slack Tide Brewing and Cape May Courthouse remind you to always drink responsibly. Yes, over there on Route 83, Slack Tide Brewing Company. For more information about Slack Tide Brewing Company, go over 973ESPN.com to learn more about the host of this year's Eagles draft party. Speaking of the draft, we'll talk more about the draft tomorrow with DraftKings NFL analyst Reed Fowler tomorrow night on Game Night. But for now, I wanted to touch on a couple things with the draft because every year everyone has mock drafts. Everyone has all these projections and analytics and everything. And I think this is going to be the most unpredictable draft ever. And if anyone does get a mock draft right, I'm going to just tell them to go play the lottery because that's basically what you're doing. You threw dice at the table. You played roulette. There's no real strategy to this year's predictions because we have no clue who is being picked 1, 2, or 3. There is absolutely zero chance that anybody knows for sure right now. The fact that the Jags are still debating between 2 or 3 players at the top of the draft, and then the Lions and the Panthers are talking about potentially trading out of their spots, the fact that you have multiple teams with 2 picks in the first round, from the Packers to the Jets to the Giants to the Eagles to the Saints, this is going to be the most unpredictable thing. So instead of sitting here and trying to predict the draft, I want to talk about some of the prospects specifically. I'm a big believer in certain players are better fits for certain teams than others. And when it comes to the Eagles, I'm a big believer in what this defense needs to be successful. Is this organization has to get 2 positions right on defense in this draft. No and ifs or buts. I'm a big believer they got to go cornerback in the first round. I understand that there's a lot of people who feel a certain way, okay, about Howie Roseman as a drafter. Remove that from your conversation right now because beating your head into a wall with that point is going to do you and nobody any good. What you need to do is instead focus on who they could get. I think one of the most important things about tomorrow night's draft, first round, I think the Eagles need to find a way to get a first round pick cornerback out of this draft. Because this goes back to last year when we talked about J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain II just endlessly for weeks and weeks before the draft. And both of them were gone before the 10th overall pick. Now it worked out because they got a potential long-term number 1 receiver in Devonta Smith, a wide receiver. But it still went into the regular season without a young top-tier corner. This organization has not drafted a top-tier corner who can start for years on end in a long time. You're basically going back to Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown at this point. Talking about basically 20 years. And one of my concerns is that if the Eagles don't get a certain cornerback, that people are going to lose their mind. I understand everyone, their cousin, loves Ahmad Gardner, okay? But you're probably not going to be able to get him. To me, there are two guys that every fan should focus on and kind of be very leery of the rest. To me, the number one guy you got to look at is Andrew Bruth of Clemson. I'm a big believer in guys who are the reason for a defense's success, less than I believe in guys who are a part of a team's success. Andrew Bruth was the number one corner 2 straight years on the defense that was top 10 in the nation for those 2 years. I cannot overlook the fact that this guy has shown himself to be an NFL caliber cornerback. The other guy who I don't like as much personally, but I'm very understanding of his pedigree is very appealing to people, is Derek Stingley. I don't know what Derek Stingley is going to be at the NFL level. I'm very conflicted about him because there's part of me that thinks he is going to be a better safety than cornerback. I see more Malcolm Jenkins in him than I see lockdown corner in him, okay? But I think that he has the physical tools and the ability to, if he's in the right situation, to be successful. Now, I don't know if the situation is Philadelphia per se, but I do think Stingley has a good chance to be out there. Now, the other guys you can talk about in this draft, Kyer Elam of Florida, I think is a physical freak. I understand he's a little raw, but he's a guy that I really like a lot. I think that he showed in the top college football league in the country how good he can be. Another guy is Marcus Jones of Houston. The guy's a ball hawk. The guy is a little bit of a risk taker. He's got a little Asante Samuel Sr. in him, and I like that, and I like a guy who's unafraid. Don't overlook also a potential of a Josh Jobe in the 2nd or 3rd round from Alabama. A guy who has shown you that he could be successful in a good defense. He's not the elite player the other guys I mentioned are, but he has a lot of potential. And then maybe in the 3rd or 4th round, you get a guy like Kobe Bryant. Not that Kobe Bryant, C-O-B-Y Bryant, the guy who played across from Gardner at Cincinnati. When people refused to throw at Gardner, they threw at Bryant, and he held up very, very well the last 2 years at Cincinnati, being a part of a very good defense. Again, he's not the player that Gardner is, but he can still be a very, very good player. So my hope is that the Eagles do get a corner in this draft. If they walk out of there with Booth, I will be the most happy. Because I just don't think they'll be able to get Gardner. I don't think Gardner is going to drop far enough for them to trade up and get him. I think there's only 2 players in this draft who have a chance of dropping that the Eagles, and again, I'm based this on everything I've read and heard. I don't have any special information myself. I'm gathering from everything I've heard and read that other people are reporting. There's 2 guys who have a chance of dropping in the top 10. The one guy is Kayvon Thibodeau, because there are some people who are starting to put up smoke screens and random speculation, which I don't know if it's because they actually have the speculation about him or because people are trying to get him to drop so he might fall to them. He is a guy who makes a lot of sense for the Eagles defense short and long term. The other guy that I look at is Kyle Hamilton. The problem is the Eagles have a history of not drafting safeties in the 1st round, so I think it's less likely. If you were to ask me what do the Eagles do in the 1st round, I feel very confident saying they're going to draft 2 of these 3 positions. Defensive line, cornerback, and wide receiver in the 1st round. And whatever they don't get in the 1st round, they will get in the next 2 rounds. I think it's more likely they get Brisket from Penn State in the second round than anything else. And unless I see anything otherwise, I feel pretty confident in saying that there is a chance that Johnson from Florida State is available for you at 15. And he is a guy you just can't pass up. NFL Draft tomorrow night, coverage begins at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Bucks, Bulls next.